Good morning. My name is Dr. Chantal Kealey, and I'm an audiologist. I'm also the Director of Audiology for the Canadian Association of Speech-Language Pathologists and Audiologists, better known as CASLPO. With more than 5,500 members, CASLPO is the national body that supports and represents audiologists, speech-language pathologists, and supportive personnel. Through this support, CASLPO champions the needs of people with hearing and communication disorders in Canada. CASLPO is pleased to announce its support for Peter Julian's private members bill, C-577, tabled earlier today. The bill seeks to amend the Income Tax Act relative to hearing impairment, a change that seeks to ensure all eligible individuals with hearing disabilities have fair access to the disability tax credit. Under the current criteria for the disability tax credit, a person qualifies as markedly restricted in hearing if he or she is unable to hear so as to understand another familiar person in a quiet setting, even with the use of appropriate devices. A legal decision in Barber versus the Queen determined that quiet setting must refer to normal, day-to-day setting for the particular individual. This current use of quiet setting is ambiguous, and the criteria and terminology are causing a great deal of uncertainty for our member audiologists who are authorized to sign the disability tax credit for their clients. People do not live their day-to-day lives in a quiet setting, and they don't only speak to people with whom they are familiar. And the disability tax credit criteria must recognize this and follow case law. The ambiguity and restrictiveness causes the rules to be applied inconsistently, and this results in some patients being denied the credit when they are actually entitled to receive it. CASLPO is part of the National Working Group on the Disability Tax Credit, collaborating with the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association, the Canadian Academy of Audiology, and Voice for Hearing Impaired Children. This group continues to work together to advocate for improvements to the eligibility criteria and terminology associated with the disability tax credit. We congratulate Peter Julian for tabling Bill C-577 and his efforts and support of hard of hearing Canadians. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's great that Michel, Norah-Lynn, and Chantal could be here this morning in support of Peter Julian's private members bill, Bill 577, an act to amend the Income Tax Act hearing impairment, and they did a phenomenal job of explaining why this is so important to the hard of hearing community across Canada. Nobody should be surprised, though, that the member for Burnaby New Westminster is bringing this forward. He is a tireless advocate for people living with disabilities across this country, and has been so since he arrived in 2004. And this is just another example of the very excellent work that he does on behalf of his own constituents and on behalf of people across Canada. This bill will do, amongst a number of things, two things in particular. It will allow us to inform the Canadian public and MPs in particular of this inequity in the Income Tax Act. And it will provide to the government a vehicle, if it chooses, very simple vehicle, if it chooses to use to change this, to fix this inequity. And so, having said that, I'm now open to any questions that you might have for the member for Burnaby New Westminster or our guests here this morning.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.